And now for tonight's regional news. My name is COLWYN ABRAMS. Minister with Portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Robert Morgan, says that there is no chance that Jamaica will withdraw the country's bid to have Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister, Senator Kamini Johnson-Smith, installed as the next Secretary General of the Commonwealth. Morgan, who is the de facto Minister of Information, was responding to a question from a reporter at Wednesday's post-cabinet media briefing at Jamaica House. The question was posed in the context of the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, stating that Jamaica's candidature was a monumental mistake that would likely divide CARICOM. Brown made the comments following the surprise announcement from Jamaica House last Friday evening that Johnson-Smith was throwing her hat in the ring. She will challenge the incumbent, the Dominican-born Baroness Patricia Scotland, in June. Scotland has indicated that she will be seeking a second term as CARICOM leaders issued a communique at the end of their March 1 and 2 intersessional summit held in Belize, in which they expressed their overwhelming support for the re-election of Scotland as Secretary General of the Commonwealth. This prompted Brown's criticism of the Jamaican government, but Morgan is insisting that Jamaica is going all the way. Jamaica is a sovereign democracy. What that means is that Jamaica has a right and responsibility towards its citizens and itself to push forward an approach that is going to in the interest of Jamaica. That interest also takes into consideration the regional associations and international associations we are part of, Morgan told the media briefing. And I don't think there's any evidence of a division in CARICOM, he added. Morgan pointed out that Holness was engaged with other CARICOM leaders Wednesday morning regarding the matter, which Holness admitted in the Parliament on Tuesday had divided CARICOM in the recent past. Morgan pointed out, like Holness, that Jamaica had received widespread support from Johnson-Smith's candidature. We'll now turn our attention to news coming out of El Salvador. El Salvador's Congress on Tuesday approved sentences of 10 to 15 years for those who spread gang-related messages in the media, prompting journalists to raise censorship fears. The reform to the panel's code applies to those who, quote, reproduce and transmit messages or communications originating or allegedly originating from said criminal groups that could generate anxiety and panic among the general population. The measure, which was requested by President Nayib Bukele, also targets those who, quote, mark their territories with acronyms, a practice that gang members use to threaten those who report them to authorities. When the Germans wanted to eradicate Nazism, they prohibited by law all Nazi symbology, as well as messages, apologies, and everything aimed at promoting Nazism. Now we will do the same with gangs, Bukele said on Twitter. El Salvador declared a state of emergency 10 days ago following a weekend of violence that included at least 87 reported killings, which the government attributed to the MS-13 and Barrio 18 gangs. About 6,000 suspected gang members have been arrested since then, according to official figures. There are about 70,000 gang members in the Central American country. El Salvador's Journalists Association issued a statement expressing its, quote, concern about the, quote, clear attempt at censorship. The gag reform, as the group describes it, threatens the imprisonment of media and journalists who report on a reality that the current administration of Bukele seeks to hide. It is a new tool to criminalize journalistic work, the group said. And finally, news coming out of Peru. Peruvian President Pedro Castillo has Tuesday afternoon lifted a curfew order following widespread defiance on the streets as protesters spiraled against rising fuel and fertilizer prices triggered by the Ukraine conflict. I must announce that from this moment on, we are going to cancel the curfew order, Castillo said in a meeting with Congress. We now call on all the Peruvian people to keep calm. Castillo issued a sudden curfew mandate minutes before midnight on Monday, ordering Lima residents to stay at home between 2 a.m. and 11:59 p.m. in an attempt to curb nationwide protests over surging prices. But the curfew triggered a fresh crisis for the Castillo administration, with thousands of people taking to the streets to defy the curfew. He cut the curfew short just after 5 p.m. local time. The new protests on Tuesday added to the broader crisis that started a week ago in Peru over mounting inflation, which rattled Castillo just days after he survived an impeachment trial. Western sanctions on Russia have cut supply of oil and fertilizers, hurting fragile emerging economies like Peru. Like many countries, Peru is battling high inflation before the war started, but the conflict has accelerated a surge in food prices, fuel, and other essential items. Peru's March inflation at 1.48% was the highest in 26 years. Castillo rose to power last year with overwhelming support from Peru's rural population, but rising prices have led that same group to stage the most significant protests so far in his administration. And that has brought us to the end of tonight's regional news. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.